The issues affecting us in our daily lives now in Europeans.
In St. Petersburg, African students never walk alone. Several murders and dozens of attacks in recent months have earned Russia's second city the dubious title of the country's racist capital. Freeman and Innocent from Chad and their Ugandan friend Andrew turned to the National Library of Russia after help from the local police and authorities was less than forthcoming.
Fear became an everyday friend since we've personally been victims of attacks. We were lucky to get away in time. When a foreigner is killed and we stage a small demonstration, we know the citizens of the city won't be interested. No one will come.
On se rend compte que les habitants de la ville, si ça les intéresse pas, personne ne vient.
Here in St. Petersburg, it was like the climax of the beating of me, because they broke my hand and I laid in hospital for some good time.
Today, in the Legal Information Center, they're looking for a way to protect themselves.
Actually, we didn't know too much what they call it, international laws, there are very many things we've discovered from this center. Yeah, we're using it. It's a nice place.
Alexei Demidov is deputy chairman of Russia's National Committee for the UNESCO program called Information for All. His initiative saw the first legal information centers being set up in public libraries 8 years ago. Users can search through local and international legislation using a computer database or a printed archive. The database is constantly updated, providing people for the first time with free access to official texts and figures. Alexei believes universal access to information can transform Russian society, and he says keeping things local is essential.
Every town, every region has its own specifics, and in each of them this project answers local needs, not copying Moscow or St. Petersburg. On the one hand, we're using international experience. On the other, it's something that's ours. This is important. Through this project, Russia is integrating itself into the international community. People are starting to understand better the ideas of civil society and the rule of law. That's important.
In St. Petersburg, a group of teachers and human rights activists is trying to counter the rising level of xenophobia with an innovative course of school education. Using another legal information center as a base, they're developing a full-scale civic program called the Humanitarian Teaching Center. It's already collaborating with dozens of public schools, and it hopes to expand further, although that will depend on support from central government. Russia's Ministry for Economic Development and Trade is helping finance public access centers, seeing them as important in boosting internet access.
Those who don't have internet access will in future find themselves far behind those who do, on the level of knowledge as well as in social activity. We can say, in fact, that it's impossible to live without the internet today.
This year, Alexei Demidov's project was honored with a prestigious state prize, but he skipped the Prime Minister's award ceremony to show Euronews another center.
The Bryansk region is one of the most polluted by the Chernobyl radioactive fallout. That's why people there need environmental information centers urgently.
The administration of the Bryansk region has declared citizens' access to ecological information a human right. Forests in western parts of the region are still highly radioactive, and any fires there could cause massive pollution. Since the Chernobyl disaster in Ukraine in 1986, some Russian regions are considered dangerous. Access to several areas of Bryansk is restricted, but Boris Kopirnov, the local ombudsman, says people are still living there. At the Legal Information Center in the district library, he helps people who are suing the state over their poor health. Anatoly wants to be recognized as a radiation victim and claim compensation.
I became ill in 1987, soon after working in the polluted areas, cleaning them in 1986. Now I'm an invalid. I have 14 chronic diseases. Both my colleagues, who were younger than me, have passed away already. And I'm barely alive myself.
In the neighboring Smolensk region, economic instability is the gravest problem. The region hugely depends on federal aid. Local students and businessmen use public centers of legal and business information to understand the economic situation and try to change it for the better. The centers can have a big impact on small towns like Talashkino, 20 kilometers south of Smolensk. This center's first employee was actually elected mayor by grateful fellow villagers. The arrival of a computer in the local library was a sign of hope for many residents in a place hard hit by poverty and alcoholism. For some people, legal information centers are just a great help. For others, they've provided a new career. Elena Novikova is 30 years old, a professional lawyer, and blind. She works at the Legal Information Center at the Russian State Library for the Blind, and she's had considerable success.
There was a visitor, a woman with both sight and hearing problems. She was suing the Moscow administration but couldn't represent herself in court, so I decided to participate in the hearings instead of her. I was searching for the documents she needed, helping her with the papers, doing everything that a lawyer does. The trial is continuing, but we won the first two cases.
Alexei Demidov is convinced the wide network of legal information centers in Russian libraries can become a mediator between citizens and the authorities, helping to strengthen civil society.
Free access to information is as essential to Russia as it is to other countries. Europe and the US went this way during the development of their democracies. It's a necessary condition, and it's important that Russia does go the right way.
With more than 1,200 information centers across the country, the aim is to help those being left behind in 21st century Russia.